Excellent. Yeah, today I would like to talk about some of the resources that we have that you may not know about because some of them are pretty new and others are already being used a lot and others maybe not so much as we could benefit from them. So I thought of kind of demonstrating some resources we have and then yeah, kind of discussing questions if you have. So with one very new resource that we have is the data science incubator transformed into a book, an ebook or website. So at this kind of short link, which might be easier to remember, you can find the book, including the lessons or the meetup of today. So the meetup of today is now here at the very end. They are sorted by date. So here in our resources, you can have like the book version of the slides that I'm demonstrating today. So at the very end, you will also find a discuss comment section. So you can also use that and also know that that exists. So I have kind of built that infrastructure by request of Florence and Jackson. And I think it's a very good thing. They needed that for a demonstration to some of the banks. But that's something for you to know about. We have this infrastructure. If you think that your documentation for your projects would benefit of something like that, of transforming your documentation into a book, and then adding some comments there so that people can react, say, hey, I love this, or whatever, or just write their comments. Hello. They can just do that. The second resource that I would like to show or to present, actually, because it's also new. It was motivated by discussion by CJ and Jackson, who pointed that the platform rstudio.cloud can be very useful for not only the meetups that we are running, but also for in your own projects. Sometimes you need to build, you need an R environment, isolated from your own computer, and you want to do something, or you want to show something to someone. So rstudio.cloud is a really cool platform. A lot of the stuff that you can do there is free. So for the purposes of this presentation, everything you can do there is free. So I shared, the link here will send you to, sorry for jumping so much. It will send you to what we call a workspace. So rstudio.cloud has, for each person can have their own workspace with your own projects, but also you can be a member of other workspaces. So if you click in the link of that presentation, that will send you to a workspace kind of owned by the data science incubator. And what that means is that you can have access, you can create a new project, for example, by clicking here, and that will give you a new instance of RStudio with a bunch of packages that we find very useful in most of our data analysis, including the tidyverse, DevTools as well. All the packages that come with the installation of DevTools are also included in all projects, all new projects, and also the R2DII packages that I would like to kind of show a little later. So it took a little while because what's happening when you click that new project button, it creates like a whole new computer for you, a whole new container with R in it and the packages that I set up to start with. So you can see that if I do library tidyverse, for example, the packages attach. Same thing with the tools. And that might not seem very kind of exciting, but many times installing software in a computer is tricky. So if you want to show something to someone and that someone wants to experience what you're trying to show them, if you say, hey, but you need a tidyverse, and if they try to install the tidyverse in their computers, sometimes it's very likely they're going to struggle because a lot of people don't have their packages up to date. So you can just land in this online version of RStudio, and in this workspace you will have all the packages that you will normally need, including the R2DAI package there. So next resource, coding. The coding channel is very active, and I really like that. So just to show that, you know, between yesterday and today, there were a few exchanges there. And I would like to kind of emphasize that that is a very useful resource, because it is not only that it will solve the problem that you have today, but also it kind of leaves a record that can be reused in the future. So I encourage you to kind of prefer the coding channel over, for example, direct messages if you can. So if you're not having a private conversation, it's probably better to use the coding channel, because, you know, the problem that you have, someone else might already kind of solved it before. And also in the future, you may be able to kind of go back to the same discussion that you had, or someone else can just search, you know, for a keyword and might, you know, land on a solution. So I really encourage you to continue to use that coding channel. It's awesome to see the conversations that are going on there. Another resource is the resources repository, which many of you have been using, but if you are not aware, well, this is just a repository for storing issues. And those issues, I'm going to click there on the link. Those issues are labeled. So if you, for example, today I saw a very cool post by Alex, and I thought it was a good fit for the resources repo. So if you click in that link, you will land in a blog post that he found, and I particularly find it really useful. And then the one thing that if you like that resource, then you can click on the labels to see, and you will keep kind of navigating and filtering the resources that we have that match that topic. So if you want to see what is in this repo that has the label best practices, so you just click there and you get a bunch of other issues. So it's a very nice way to kind of explore the resources that may be within the topic that you are interested at that particular time. So the next resource is the proposed topics for meetups. And actually, one thing I would really like you to do whenever you have the time is to explore them, because I would like to pick one meetup a month that follows up the feedback from the retrospective. I would like to pick one meetup a month that is kind of maybe not what I'm kind of stubbornly thinking about, something that kind of expands, and maybe even if it's not super focused on best practices, it would be great to have something like that. It might be refreshing, and it would be great someone else can lead it. And here I'm showing as one example, like an idea by Claire and also by Vincent, of discussing the different options that you have to reshape data. For example, using gather, spread, pivot longer, and pivot wider. So that's just one example. So if you can, please go to the proposed topics and have a look at the ones that we already have. And wherever you find something that you like, just click there on the smiley face and say +1. So that way I know, which topics you are more interested in, and then I can contact the person who proposed that topic, or I can organize it myself if it was an idea that I proposed. And hopefully coming close to the end, yes. So I've been working on collecting what I'm calling gotchas. So very problems are very common in especially when you move from an R script to an R package. So a lot of things that are totally valid code in scripts may not be valid in packages. Those are really tricky and take some time to learn. So I thought of kind of putting them all together in one chapter of the data science incubator, because that way they're here at the end, almost as an appendix. Because what you can do, if that would be also great. I mean, if you can click on the different sections of the book and see which kind of topic you think needs clarification, and then maybe, for example, if you find that this gotcha about avoiding the, relying on global environments, if it doesn't make sense, maybe you can leave a message here at the end, or if you want to learn more about one particular topic. So that way, this will kind of grow continuously. That's why it's not like, it doesn't have a date in the meetup, because my expectation is that this will continue to grow, continuously, to incorporate things that I see, patterns that I see that kind of trick us. People contribute pull requests, often with the same kind of problems, and they're not problems in our script sometimes, but they are a problem in our package. So I want to document that there, so that I don't kind of repeat myself every time that I have to kind of explain why something needs to be kind of refactored in a particular way. So the gotchas. And finally, I think that's the last one. I want to kind of remind you of the R2DII package. So the R2DII package is like an umbrella project similar to the Tidyverse, in that it contains a bunch of other packages inside. And in particular, the reference section contains a search option where you can type the function name or any keyword, like for example, Dropbox. So if you think, well, I'm having problems with my kind of dealing with Dropbox, the Dropbox folder, and finding files or creating paths to data sets, okay, then you can just type Dropbox there and see what you get. So this, for example, function might look attractive to you. Maybe you want, okay, easily access directories in your local copy of the 2DII Dropbox folder. Okay, that sounds like might solve a problem that I have now. So you click on the question mark, you land in the documentation of that function. As usual, you will have a little description. How to use the function comes at the end in the examples. So this function in particular, I chose it for this demonstration because I think it plays a big role in allowing you to move projects from, for example, the problematic path inside the 2 degrees investing initiative Dropbox folder. If you want to move a project from there outside to a more healthy path, something that doesn't have a symbol or a space in the path, then this function will help you a lot in accessing data sets that you might have kind of left behind inside that Dropbox. So that's all I have to say today. I wanted to be on time. And we still have a couple of minutes to for comments and questions. So please go ahead. Do we have? Sorry, I'm not hearing any.
Sorry, we were muted. And I was
good.
So first of all, there was an applause for your ability to finish on time. I was like,
thanks.
And
I'm looking forward to the day, Mauro, when we just ask you any question and you just send us a link in response, so that you've answered all of our questions so many times that you've
I suggest making a Mauro chat bot that we can just send a question to and it'll automatically give us an answer. One thing that's partially related to this that I noticed today, Uni was setting up her GitHub, and you have in the ds-incubator stuff about setting up GitHub, but I didn't see the link to Happy Git with R, which no offense to the content that you've created, but it's yours is a bit of an abbreviated version, and the Happy Git with R is really covers everything in detail, and I think that's a very appropriate link to have in there.
Absolutely, yeah. I wonder how, I totally use that resource for setup, so I wonder how I could have missed it. So thanks for pointing that.
Yeah.
I open an issue to do that.
Yeah, other than that, I don't have I mean, I think the rstudio.cloud thing is cool. I might have described it a bit different than you. Like what I think is really interesting about it is you set up the entire environment with the packages installed, also code that you have or data sets that you have of interest, you can load in there also. And then when you share it with someone else, they can open it and they have the same exact situation that you would have if you had on your local machine. So that's
Exactly.
kind of like having a GitHub repository that you would clone to your machine, but with the addition of you guarantee that the person would be, the other person you're sharing with would be using the same exact versions of the packages, the same exact profile, and everything is totally the same. So it's, yeah, I think it's good for the ds-incubator because you can put like the example code that we're talking about in there, and then people can play with it on their own, either during the presentation or after presentation. And then obviously it has lots of purposes for other use cases as well.
Absolutely agree. And now, actually, as an example, I'm going to show how to share that. So I just by copying the link to the project that you are at. Let me see if that works. Yeah. So just by copying the link and sharing that with someone, you should be able to do just what.
And also, I wanted to ask you, Mauro, how is it set up with the members of ds-incubator? Are they like, what are their membership privileges? Because
yeah,
my experience using this in the university, it was a little bit dicey. Yeah, because depending on membership privileges, when you open a project, you might be actually modifying the project there. Whereas if you're a different level of privileges, it automatically opens an exact duplicate temporary project. And that's good to know and be aware of, and because we don't want people, if you set up one that's specifically set up for a certain reason or for a certain session, and then people go in and mess around with it and they don't realize that they're actually like changing the default version.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so answer your question. First, I want to show that, for example, this window that you see here has my name because here I'm logged in this browser window. I'm logged as Mauro. So I'm now like a user of this workspace. But now in this other window, I'm logged in as 2 degrees. So this is kind of the admin account. And this is, kind of touching on the topic that CJ has just commented. So in this window, I'm logged in as with privileges to change this workspace, including to edit what I call the base project. So you can choose as an administrator of the Data Science Incubator workspace or as any other workspace, you can create one project that will be the base for any new project created within that workspace. And that's really cool because, as CJ suggested, there may be some R environments that you consistently use in different projects. So I think that, for example, the Tidyverse and DevTools are very generic tools that a lot of our people might use. So I set up this TidyTools project with those tools. So answering your question, CJ, right now the privileges are very restrictive. So only this account 2 degrees has privileges to modify the base project. So it should be safe for everyone to use that without kind of messing up with the base project. Then, and for example, even myself, I'm registered here as a contributor. So I added to the presentation also the link to join this workspace. So I'm gonna share it right now in Coding channel. So if you want to join that workspace, feel free to do it. And if you need, admin privileges for some reason, we can discuss that and we can add you there. So, I kept myself as a contributor as opposed to an admin. So that's what I would expect. This is maybe too abstract. It becomes more concrete when we use it, and I hope that next sessions of the Data Science Incubator will use this tool a bit more, and people will understand in what scenarios it might be useful.
Cool. Yeah, I think we're out of things to say.
Great. Okay, thank you very much then. Glad that we finished relatively on time. Have a good afternoon.
Cool. Thanks.
Bye.
Ciao, Mo.
Thank you.
Ciao, ciao.